Okay, just to bring you up to speed, I have the Turbosmart internal wastegate set up on the turbo now. That's all mounted nicely. It was fairly easy to mount, it wasn't actually too difficult. So when you buy it in kit form for the GTX series, it does actually come with a bracket, so that's real handy. And basically you do actually have to remove one of these locking plates. So you just remove one of the locking plates, and this bracket for the IWG75 fits nicely in place of that turbo bracket there. That's the clevis. I've threaded the clevis on. Now I've lined it up nicely. It does say you want about 2 mil of preload. Basically once you're done, once you get that on, then you want to just tighten that lock. This is the lock nut, tighten that, and yeah, you should be good to go. So I'm just getting this all set up on the bench. It's the easiest way to do it. We've got the Aeroflow kit for the S14, S15, oil and water lines. Comes with your sealing washers, and that I believe goes to the water neck, connects to the water neck, and then you connect your line on, and this goes into, I believe, the top for the oil feed. Now it actually does come with a 1 mil restrictor and a spare olive if you need to shorten any of the lines. Oil drain. I've clocked the turbo now, so it's all in position, and now I've just got to mount it. You can see where I've marked it. The center cartridge is all lined up, lines up nicely with the oil drain tube on the bottom of the motor where it connects in to the block. That all lines up beautifully. So yeah, getting closer. We're just going to put the lines on now and dummy fit those lines. Now with the IWG75 Turbosmart internal wastegate, I actually have brought a spring for it. These run internally, they actually run an outer spring, and they're rated at different poundages, and also an internal spring. Look up the combination of what internal wastegate pressure you're going to need, what spring pressure. They've got a nice little table there which tells you what springs you need and what springs you can use to get that spring pressure. So I need to swap this one out. Ideally you want to mount this onto a vise, and it's a matter of unscrewing this bad boy. Bear in mind it's going to be under a lot of tension due to the spring inside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap it in a rag. I'm going to give this little C-spanner a go. I'm just covering it with a rag just so that I don't mark it. There we go. Really pays to have the right tools. Just careful when you're doing this because it's under a lot of spring pressure. It's going to go flying if you're not careful. Ideally you want to hold it while you turn it and be prepared because it's probably going to just fly out if you're not careful. Alright, there we go. Felt that. Just carefully, slowly release the tension. Awesome. There we go, guys. So you've got that locking ring. You got the outside of it, and then that's the diaphragm seal. Then you've got like this little plunger kind of piece. Pretty much just all slides out. Although you might have to remove the clevis. Just a little tip as well. Just apply like some copper grease or some nickel grease, anti-seize, just on the threads, just to help with lubrication if you need to adjust it. So guys, each of the springs that are included are color coded that come with your internal wastegate. This is just the standard spring it comes with. You can buy them in different poundages. I've brought an extra spring. This one here, I've brought this as an extra, which I'm going to add. This is an internal spring, so this will work quite well. That will increase the poundage, the spring pressure. Now to undo it, looks pretty simple. Just looks like you just get a little spanner in there, and then you can rotate this little cup. You can rotate it off. To get this spring off, basically you need to turn this rod to remove it from this bottom section. You need to unscrew it. There's a portion in here that is threaded, and it does actually have Loctite on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this rod carefully in the vise, and I'm gonna try and turn it and unscrew it. Just got it clamped in the vise nice and snug, and now it's just a matter of carefully getting my spanner in there and trying to just free it, crack it. So I just managed to heat this up with my little flamethrower, and that was enough to actually crack it. Now, yeah, yes, it'll now come undone. I put gloves on because I got this pretty darn hot. Just careful because it is only alloy though, and this will still be under spring tension. Apply a bit of pressure. There we go. Now, this outer spring, it is a 7 psi spring. We are going to put in another spring, and this purple one is actually a 7 psi spring. So it's gonna have 14 psi of tension before the actual wastegate will open. So I'm gonna throw those two in together. Got our internal 7 psi spring there, and I've inserted that. And then now we have the pink standard 7 psi spring it comes with, and that's the outer spring. That just goes over the outer, double that up. So 7 psi times 2, that's 14 psi spring pressure. Now we're going to put all that back together. Just going to apply some Loctite to that thread again because we heated that up. We want to put some more on there. So we want it to hold nicely and not come loose. This is going to take quite a lot of tension, pressure downwards just to get this started. I'm going to have to finish this off in the vise, but I just wanted to show you guys. Now I'm just going to finish that off by tightening it in the vise. Okay, little tip too, if you have a little thin spanner like this, really comes in handy. This is ideally what you want to be using. So this is just 9/16. I should have been using this to begin with, but anywho, tighten that bad boy up. It's got Loctite on it, so you don't have to go crazy out. Remember, it is alloy. Alright, that's super tight, and it's got Loctite on it, so that is not coming undone at all. No way. Now we have twice the amount of spring pressure. Our internal wastegate, on our turbo is not going to open until at least 14 psi now with that one spring added. Okay, so we've got the extra spring in there. We've got the 2 springs in there now. Now we're going to put it all back together. And we want to make sure that the rod is in approximately the right location. Next we have the diaphragm, which we have to refit. So this part, including the diaphragm, goes back on here. Don't worry too much about this, like the orientation. You can actually move it around a little there. It will move. You can adjust it up and down. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you an easy way to do this if you just want to do it like me on the bench rather than putting it in a vise, because I've already got it attached to the bracket. I don't want to take it off. So just grab one of these amazing wonders, get it seated where you want it, put the locking ring. Now I'm just going to line up the writing so it reads nicely along with Garrett. That's where I want it. Now it's a matter of grabbing this. We're just going to use this this clamp here as a vise, and that's going to hold. It's going to hold it in for us. What I will try to do is just start it by hand. It's going to require quite a lot of strength. There you go. So it does require a fair bit of strength. If you've got the muscle, you know, you can do it. Otherwise, get it in, take the whole thing off, put it in a vise and do it that way. Or use this bad boy here. So I'll show you. Now that I've started it a few threads, I can clamp that down now. Yeah, this bad boy works a treat. So this is instead of using a vise. If you haven't already, buy a couple of these clamps because they come in handy. I've used these so much. So yeah guys, as you can see here, I've got that clamped nicely. That'll help you get the locking ring on. I was able to do it by hand to begin with, but if you guys need to, just use something you can clamp it down with. Just like we undid it, I'm going to wrap a rag around here so I don't mark it. Now I'm going to tighten it. Alright. Ooh. That is nice and tight. And she's good to go.